Well, hey, howdy, hey, fellow Schlockaholics. Back again after a little delay. This is going to be episode number 18 of our movie review, and we are going to be talking about Septum Sin's choice, which is Closing Time. Brandon, if you want to go ahead and just give a little intro on why you picked this, and just let you go from there.
Yeah, this is a Jim Roberts film, I believe. And I was introduced to this by Kyle Rappaport, who's also in the film. It's a Blind Sight Productions feature about this couple of peoples where there's an unfortunate accident and a slightly unhinged individual going on a murderous rampage, while at the same time dealing with the fallout from building a shop on an ancient Indian burial ground that also happened to be the host of a massacre. I think that's got all of it. Hey, Michael McNally, awesome to see you here.
Wouldn't be a live stream without you. We got Mo hopefully popping back on momentarily. He's having a little issues.
But as far as films go, this is one that I was introduced to a while back, and I've wanted to talk about it again for a while. I was actually quite impressed because all I'd seen were things like Camp Blood and a lot of other lower budget ones. And this one showed me how far those types of gore effects and stuff could go, because I was actually really impressed by a lot of the gore work that they did here in this film, and I was kind of glad that I could finally share it with you guys. Was this the first time you've seen this or heard of this, Cody?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, and going off the DVD you sent me, since there's really like limited release, there wasn't anything on the back, so I didn't really have much of an idea. I mean, I want to say maybe there's like a one line on there, but I didn't really have any idea what it was about. But I mean, your picks are always a little off the wall in a very good way, so I knew we weren't going to have any issues, or I knew it was going to be a good choice for sure.
Did your copy actually come with the behind the scenes featurette?
It did, but I haven't watched it yet. Like 3.5 years in the making or something like that.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, it did come with it.
Yeah, mine's a more limited Blu-ray release that they did a while back, but
nice.
Kyle managed to get in touch with Jim Roberts and was able to help secure me a copy, which is good. And now I'm Facebook friends with him, so I could contact him myself and get copies for y'all.
Yeah, it looks like he's unless they just happen to have the same last name. Look like he had a lot of family members help out with this. I don't know anything about him, so I don't know.
Oh yes.
How many movies he's done, or if this was his first one or just his most recent one. But it really, I mean, I know we're going to get into it, but I mean, if nothing else, just the effects were just fantastic.
Oh, I mean, like, the poster that we've got kind of stuck here right now is a good example of that. I mean, there were some amazing kills in this. I was quite surprised. My wife was not so happy with this. She watched it and she was like, this is horrible. I'm like, oh, welcome to my world.
Right. Gave her a taste and she didn't like it.
But yeah, he uses a lot of his family in this. That store is actually a family store. Technically, I'm guessing he's part owner or does own it, and he's running it as a business. If you look at his Facebook page, you can actually see that that's there. So if y'all want boots and bridles or whatnot, you could get that. And his parents are actually the woman who brought the cookies is his mother, and then the old man that's the main good guy character, I guess, if there's a good guy in this, his father, as his father. Excuse me. And I think they all do a pretty good job acting-wise in this. Though, pardon me one moment, I'm going to be coughing. I haven't quite gotten over what I picked up last week. But a lot of this is a twofold. One is sort of like a revenge thriller, and then the other is a supernatural piece. And it kind of teases you a little bit with the supernatural piece, but I still feel it's very much a surprise by the time you reach that point.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I thought it was just gonna be kind of like I don't know, like almost a small town mobster revenge story, and then it kind of like I mentioned a little bit off the air, and like 30 minutes into it, maybe a little bit longer, it just kind of takes a huge shift. And I was all for that, because I just, it's like low budget mobster movie. Like, I like mobster movies, or people going off to the bookie and they owe them money, but I don't know that I've seen many low budget ones, so I was a little concerned, but it definitely took that turn and made it all the more better for sure.
And of course, the main killer in this, of course, he's the son of this guy gets run off the road, and he gets into this, vengeance thing. Like, I need to kill this dude. And finds out that it's this guy who is the son of this guy who had borrowed money from his father in order to try and save his mother's life. But of course, the mother dies anyway. And so now he's kind of crawled into the bottle, and then while drunk driving ends up running his father off the road. But and of course, this guy has his own crew, which, my goodness, that is a pretty cool cast of characters as far as his crew. You got the kind of skinhead biker guy, and you have the old man who kind of reminds me of this just torture artist. That scene at the when they're doing the initial torturing of the suspects, where he comes out with the blood after the chainsaw sounds, that just really was a cool scene.
He's like, I'm too old for this crap.
Oh, you're with us, Mo.
Like, yeah, they didn't do it. That was savage.
Was this your first time with this film?
Yeah, I'd never heard of this until you brought it up, and honestly, I thought that it was going to be more along the lines of a Leba movie for some reason. When you first told us the title, I just thought it was going to be more of like an indie art film or something. I guess you could say it is. It's just a pretty mean-spirited little, what do you call it, family feud, sort of blood feud kind of a movie, I guess, but with a cool supernatural twist, which I thought was pretty rad. Who doesn't love some native spirits coming for vengeance,
He comes and he does not give any darns who gets in his way. He's going to crush everybody.
Yeah, he's pretty much just down to do a bunch of indiscriminate killing until he kills whoever ran his dad off the road. Which seems like it was pretty easy to just figure out. So I don't know why. I mean, maybe they just wanted to kill a bunch of people, because they really could have just went to the store and asked who drives that orange clunker, and probably immediately found out who did it, But yeah. I'm glad that we got all the extra body count. It was nice.
Well, I mean, even when you've got the two, he's like, oh, I guess the good news is y'all are innocent. The bad news is we can't leave witnesses. So I'm introducing you to my friend. He likes to cave in skulls. Like, damn.
It's hammer time.
Yeah. I think he says he likes to touch skulls, doesn't he? Which is like,
yeah.
It makes it sound even more gross. Like, I don't know. Yeah, the bad guy crew of the movie were well dressed, and they backed it up with some gnarly dispositions and graphic violence, which I always appreciate. This movie probably would have been pretty interesting even without the supernatural zombie twist to all of it, you know.
It was a very weird add-on.
I like it. It's like The Evil Dead or something gets unleashed in the middle of one of those blood feud movies that you see, you know.
If I disappear for a minute, it's because I went into a coughing fit.
Oh, no problem.
But
I thought the family of the drunkard dude was pretty likable as well. All the people that worked at the Clippity Clop or whatever it was called.
well, I mean, that was his mother and father. That the director's father is the owner of the Clippity Clop guy, and the mother is the woman who brings the cookies. So his parents are in it, and that is his store technically. It's his parents' store, but it's his store basically because he's utilizing it. Matter of fact,
Yeah,
go
ahead. Sorry.
if you go to his Facebook page, you can actually see him advertising a whole bunch of horse stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it was pretty genuinely in the movie. You know, it didn't feel like it was they were playing it for laughs or anything. It just felt like it happened to be the style and setting of the people and the locations that the movie was being done in, if that makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
And they were letting them leave blood around and stuff in there, which as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, he's got to be real in with whoever owns this Western chic boutique store, because they're not just going to let some rando filmmaker spray a bunch of blood around in there around all that fine merchandise, you know.
Very into it. Yeah, that one, and of course the other family members that are off to the side are the kind of drunk guy who's our, I guess, hero, his sister, her boyfriend, and his brother, who's played by Kyle in this.
Also named Kyle in the movie.
Yep.
He needs to stay off that Playboy channel.
We all know he didn't.
He was watching some like splatter right there.
Yeah, I really like that where he picks up the big wrench and looks at it. And he's like, "What the hell do you do with this?" I think everybody has thought that at one point when you see those big wrenches, because your average person just can't, you can't fathom what nut would be big enough to need a wrench that large, you know.
Well, obviously, you use it as a murder weapon.
That's true. A little foreshadowing.
Yeah, it worked out real good.
But when he actually finds out who does it, like after the first killing, he gets this tip off that somebody had a witness of the orange car, and he's quickly able to then track it down, and he scopes out the store, and then he also goes
buys
in
a bolo
and
tie.
Buys a bolo tie. The other guy buys like a Confederate wallet, and then and of course he also sends some people out to kill Kyle and the brother, and then hold the sister hostage. He pretty well planned it out pretty coldly and calculated. It just after he first killed that person and spilled blood there, he activated the Indian curse, which you know it happens.
It brings about all types of badass stuff, including like basically a Guar character at the end of it. That thing was badass. I don't know what it was supposed to represent, but it was cool. I do like how they kind of set it up to where neither group is totally. I mean, you naturally feel sympathetic for the Clippity Clop family that's getting like attacked, but you kind of feel a little bad for the main villain dude as well, because that was like his adopted father and his only real family, basically, that drunk dude basically killed. So I can understand why he would want to like take revenge on that guy, but it's a little hard to be completely sympathetic for him when he's trying to slaughter whole families and like stomping old lady heads and stuff like that.
Though at first I actually thought for a moment like maybe the guy actually was just drunk. Like the guy was trying to because he got all defensive. Then the flashback they give him has the guy going, guess what time it is? It's beer o'clock. I'm like, maybe he is the drunk. That type of drunk.
we're running late. It's beer 30.
Yeah, beer 30.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the best kind of movies where you at least to a point sympathize with the villain, and he definitely took it to the extreme. But his initial intentions, I guess, were right, or you could at least feel for why he's wanting to do this.
Right. Yeah, and it's there was something about that the Clippity Clot family too. I almost feel like there's non-existent sequels to this or something in my brain where they're involved in some nefarious stuff too, because they took to at least what's her name, Aunt Susie, and the aunt and the drunk kid took to just killing people pretty quickly. There wasn't too much hesitation on their part in terms of reacting violently to these people that had came back to their store after closing time. And it makes me kind of wonder if it's not too far out of the realm of possibility to believe that this family that was running this Western boutique store was into some crime and backdoor dealings like those dudes that were obviously attacking them. Oftentimes, with mob movies, one family will owe another family, and that will start a blood feud like that. So it did, whether intentionally or not, kind of have that family versus family vibe to it that I guess you do get in a lot of those sort of mobster movies. You know what I mean?
Well, you could tell that one old guy that was with the bad guys was obviously used to collecting from others. He was the one that was sitting there talking business with the old man.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, the old man himself on the Clippity Clop had a Glock in his desk drawer. That's not. I don't think that's a normal thing that dudes that are running those kind of stores have the desk Glock. So it just makes me wonder if that wasn't, if they weren't up to some shady shit too, but we just only get that one part of the story. I haven't listened to commentaries or anything, so I would be curious as to what that Jim Roberts would have to say about it. So.
Yeah, I got to see. I mean, the only thing that they had on there was a featurette behind the scenes, and it was a fun one. And it is included in the DVDs that you got, according to what Cody told me. And it is it gives you at least a little bit of background, tells you what about the store. Shows some filming of the special effects, shows Kyle's journey over to the set and him getting dressed up to die. Apparently that the blood tastes like chocolate, which appealed to some and did not appeal to other people. But I guess that's better than say speaking of Kyle, the Shackle Demon, where it was raspberry crystal light mixed with some stuff. Oh, with maple syrup. God. That's a taste you never get out of your mouth.
Maybe it's just because it's been fresh on my brain lately, but having the place called the Clippity Clop, and then with the mannequin, I was just hoping Duke would show up for some reason.
What did y'all think of that little scene, where you start and it just shows that mannequin head move when the into the store?
I was 100% down when that.
I love it. Yeah, it's pretty well known. Me and Cody, and you as well. A good killer doll movie, or something along the Tourist Trap, or any of that kind of stuff. And it gave me very much Tourist Trap vibes, the mannequin stuff. And I loved it. I really did love this movie, kind of as a whole. I was surprised with how much I liked it. I was even skeptical when you fire it up because it's got that like modern Western sort of feel to it, I guess, with the whole goings on, and then like the people involved, and obviously you've got some pretty classic country music in the soundtrack and stuff like that. So I was skeptical to how much I would like that, but I feel like I should have expected to maybe like it more because it's pretty rad, the whole idea of it, you know.
I mean, the weird thing is that the whole setting has almost a Twin Peaks feel to it to me. Just the way the dialogue comes across.
Sorry. I get. No, sorry. It was maybe a little delay. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I can see the Twin Peaks thing a little bit for sure.
But I actually was surprised at how well this was put together. I mean, as they said, it took them 3 years to do. And it's also weird that this does not have an IMDb listing. So it's kind of hard to actually look this film up to find out anything about it.
Right. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a ton of info out there about it. I'm glad we're able to talk about it and hopefully, you know, get a couple of people to check it out if they can, because it's worth seeing for sure. It's a very unique little. It's a unique horror film, but at the same time, it's definitely like a nod to other kinds of stuff. That's, you know, you can see a lot of influences in various elements of it, but at the same time, it's pretty well its own thing as well. The way they mesh like the different genres of stuff together and put it in such an unlikely location for a horror film, I think is pretty brilliant.
It's very weird how it comes together, but it's also weird how kind of off the record this film is. It's hard to find, and it really does bum me out a little bit because I would like more people to know about it and see it.
Right. Yeah. This is also something I could totally see them doing, like 10 years from now, some enterprising, you know, up and coming filmmaker in the more mainstream horror market doing like a remake of or something like that, you know, because like you said, it's really well put together. The whole concept of it with more money and a few tweaks here and there and a little bit more fleshing out, I could see it being like a big budget, like horror film, you know, or even a series of sorts on like HBO or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially if they decided to take that angle where the good guys aren't so good either. Like through the course of the movie or the show, you start finding out that they have sort of dark secrets too, and do the whole Twin Peaks thing with it, but with like a more I don't know what you call it, like a small town, like redneck. Not redneck. I don't know what you call that. It exists here too. I'm you know, all the high class cowboys, I guess. I don't know. Where they like own a dairy farm and they dress like Joe Bob Briggs and
yeah, we were trying to figure out where this takes place, and I was thinking maybe like Wyoming or something like that, place where it's west, but it's far enough north where it actually gets snow.
Right.
Yeah, but even then it makes you wonder, though, because they were talking about like how the town was going to shut down. And usually places where they get a lot of snow, like, I mean, in Oklahoma, like we get an inch and it's a state of emergency, like everything's shut down. I mean, like in places where they normally get snow, it's usually not a big deal. And they were talking about like all the roads are shut down and we're going to be stuck here for the night. So that's almost makes you wonder that it's a place that maybe isn't accustomed to as much snow, even though they had snow plows and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it wasn't even really that much snow. But like you said, a lot of those places that don't get it totally do shut down. I mean, we drive in snow like that up here sometimes, you know.
Yeah, we can't handle it here.
Where I grew up, it wouldn't matter, but where I'm living now, they're just like, oh my gosh, an inch.
Yeah, they're loading up at the grocery stores.
I tend to think of the more, sort of middle of the belt or more northern, like hillbilly states, I guess. These are like those upper class hillbillies, right? And there's definitely crazy crime and like family feuds and things that go on with that stuff. I bet.
Well, a lot of them, their families have been there for a while. Like they come from old money, and there's just always been those not inner family feuds, but just feuds amongst other established families throughout the years, kind of like a Hatfield and McCoy thing.
Exactly. Yeah, you said it way better. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. What Cody said right there. Yeah, it's fascinating, man. I mean, I've never seen a horror film set with those kind of people, and it just really, like I said, I could easily see this being fleshed out more into like a Sopranos style, or like Sopranos meets Sons of Anarchy meets like Yellowstone with the supernatural twist to it. That could easily be a hit HBO series, I think.
So what did y'all think of the ghosts? I actually thought that one with the handlebar mustache, the makeup on that guy was really creepy.
Yeah. I thought ghosts like that, there's a chance they may have kind of aped that a little bit for Wednesday. Because doesn't that main ghost that like come? Oh no, he's like a Quaker oak dude. Never mind. I'm thinking of something else. I saw a ghost similar to that in something else, like an old Western guy, same sort of getup. But yeah, he's super fucking creepy. And the way that just the general like revives zombie spirits, the Deadites, if you will, they look pretty cool too. I like how it wasn't like exaggerated. It was just sort of, general zombie makeup, and it happened real quick. Especially like the scene where the owner guy like is crawling up after being shot in the head. He's got his gnarly fingernails on the desk.
Oh yeah. It seems like they can't possess you unless you're actually fully dead, though.
Right. Am I mistaken in thinking too that they were slowly like turning into those natives that we saw towards the end of the film?
Yeah, it seemed like they were being revived as versions of the characters of both the Indians and the military men, so they could reenact the slaughter all over again.
Right, because there was that one scene where they walk by and they see like one laying on the ground, and it's like in a weird hair cocoon, and it looks like it's becoming, a native. Got like a headband on and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of wacky how it goes.
It is.
But as far as things go, and I know that Kyle will want me to have asked y'all about what y'all thought of his scene, and it wasn't a long scene, but I did like that they had him watching Schlock on the TV.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that because I would assume it's like one of the director's other movies, right?
I think it might be Happy Hour Holocaust or Happy Hour something. It was Happy Hour something, because that was another movie that he was in, or that he did, but I'm not sure 100%.
I see. I'll have to look into that and compare them, I guess. Yeah, I really liked this scene. I thought it added a little bit of a comedic touch to all of it. I also thought it was sweet the way that the people like interacted with Kyle, like he was, oh yeah, he's family, and they just set him up to watch movies for the night or whatever. It's a perfect cameo for him. Actually, one of the more natural performances I feel like I've seen from Kyle too. I don't know how well he knows all these guys, but it seems like it must have been a chill vibe on set, and he's just kind of showed up and did his thing and got killed in an awesome way.
I like how he's asking for the Phillips head screwdriver. He looks as like can't figure out which one's which, so he just grabs both.
No, the other Phillips. I felt like it was very. I felt like it was. him kind of playing himself, maybe just with the volume turned up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I mean, I would like to think he gets that excited when he's watching schlocky movies, and then she was going to go bring him a snack. So I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that.
And did y'all have a favorite gore effect or kill in this one?
I mean, obviously a standout is like that torture scene where the person is all hacked up or whatever in the chair. A lot of the other ones were pretty standard, sort of like, oh no, okay, I've got a favorite. It's a pretty big one, so I'll let you guys go first. What about you, Cody?
I mean, it's hard to beat the chainsaw one. I mean, I got the poster art, so I mean, that's the one that comes to mind. Which I mean, I'm sure I'll remember years when you say it.
I'm thinking about that shotgun shot to the junk, where the guy's holding his dick in his hand and it falls out.
Well, it's like he was trying to put it back on. That's the way I like. Oh my god! Like, and then it's just his weird reaction was to try to put the dick back on.
Yeah, I didn't have any. I didn't feel bad for him either because he had just killed like that family. So. Well, I mean, that was great though. That old man that was married to the aunt. I mean, he pulls out that combat shotgun from under the bed, and he's like, "Yep, lock and load."
See, that's another thing that made me. I mean, obviously he knew what was going on over there, but the good family took too naturally to the violence in the film to be totally innocent themselves. Maybe I've just seen too much like TV like that, but I kept wanting there to be like a twist where it turned out that they had a body count prior to the events of the movie too, because clearly the bad guys in this have killed and tortured people before.
Oh yeah,
like this isn't their first rodeo with this kind of.
Well, that's what I was earlier when you were talking about that. Also, I mean, this movie could very well have prequels or sequels, and they could be interesting either way.
Yeah. I could see like a serial killer thriller slasher movie kind of in this universe involving some psycho in one of these families, and they're trying to cover it up, and then more blood feud stuff happens.
Yeah, just do it. I mean, you could do a sequel and just have flashbacks. I mean, it'd be cool to see what previous family members have dealt with, or what his dad and aunt dealt with when they were younger, working for their parents, and just all the. I mean, it almost when like they were closing up shop early in the movie, and the aunt was like, "Did you see that mannequin move?" I mean, almost like they knew a lot of this stuff already, just weren't really telling anybody.
Oh yeah, and the way that lady just kind of that random customer casually explains the backstory to the store being haunted, which apparently is just common knowledge among people. I totally get what you're saying. Like, there's all sorts of cool material here that you could spin off into other stuff. Or even if you wanted to do like non-supernatural stuff where you show how they had to, like, I don't know, kill a family member to get the money to start the Clippity Clop in the first place or something. I mean, it's almost infinite, the types of random branching stuff you could do, because they give you so many characters in this movie to work with as well.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that. It's
I think it's also. Oh, good.
It's a pretty cool environment. I do think it would be a cool playground to come back to.
Definitely. Hopefully he does at some point. I mean, the movie's not that old, so it should still be fresh on his brain, I would think. And the way it's just kind of set up almost feels like he kind of hopes to do that, I really like the ending as well, like the way the whole closing credits are brought about, where he's shutting up the store for the night, and it's showing like the lead into the closing credits, and then he sits down, and I think her name was Aunt Susie, right?
Yeah, she was my favorite character in this. I don't know why. It's just she was a sweet enough old lady, but she was also badass at the same time. I mean, she was the one who killed that one skinhead biker dude. I mean, got a hold, ran straight at him and stabbed him in the throat. That is like vicious.
Oh yeah, and she was fixing to stab someone else too until they had a gun on her. And then she just tanks that stomp to the head towards the end of the movie, and then ends up getting up, and I think she just saves that one dude by clocking the guy in the. She brains him with something. I think it's like a bottle, maybe.
Yeah, a whiskey bottle.
She deserves that gigantic pull off that Jack Daniels at the end. She really was sort of the hero of the movie in certain ways.
Well, she's definitely one of the more likable characters in the movie.
Is she one of the only old lady survivor girls or final girls too? So she is pretty much the final girl of the movie. The young women get murdered. Yeah. At the end, it's just the dude that probably should have gotten killed for being like a drunk driver and killing other people's dads, and then the old lady.
Yeah, they just kind of it's kind of a weird thing. You don't usually see older survivor characters.
Yeah, unfortunately, older folks in horror films tend to be sort of right up there first in line to be off to easy body count.
I kind of feel bad for her though because her husband gets it. So. But they each have an interesting quality throughout the characters. Even the brief ones have some fun that they do.
Oh yeah, and there's really not anybody in the. Well, there's a couple of people in the movie. There's like one older fella, and the lady that's like giving the backstory of the haunting. Where the way they're delivering their dialogue, you can kind of tell you can obviously tell it's a B movie at that point. And nothing against them. I mean, not everybody's a trained actor, but everybody else in the movie's performance was super, super natural. Like, honestly, even just with more money, this could have been probably a big budget horror movie without changing anything about it. I mean, the performances were pretty top notch from 95% of the people in the movie, which is kind of insane for movies on this level. As we all know, that doesn't normally happen.
And shoot, you wouldn't even have to change out the gore effects. Those actually were fairly top notch.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, and even the possession effects, all they would need to do is like update the computer graphics or whatever they were doing with that black mist. Like their makeup was pretty fine. Just better cameras and audio equipment really would have made this movie feel like it was any number of Blumhouse type films or whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean they did that mist effect by basically dropping some food coloring into a fishbowl, filming it, and then overlaying it on top of stuff.
Yeah. It looked cool. It definitely didn't have that like cheapo vibe that we see in a lot of these movies where it's just like some random clip art effects that they've overlaid onto the footage. I thought it was maybe computerized, but that's just the age we live in. It's really actually super rad knowing they did it old school like that.
Well, I mean, that's all I've got to say on this. But how about y'all?
What do you got, Cody?
I mean, I think we hit the high points. I know this one's kind of a little odd discussion. We didn't so much go in order, but I think that's fine. Like I said earlier, I mean, I enjoyed it. I like how it took that turn where you just thought it was going to be just a kind of a family, different families, little spouse, or not spouses, but just their little issues and a revenge story. And then it kind of just goes nuts into like a Indian Burial Ground and possession movie and all that stuff. I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked that it switched to that. I really, really liked the special effects. I thought they were great. And, I'm interested in seeing what else Jim Roberts has done.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to jump into that bonus movie that he sent along with it. If this is any indication of the quality of this guy's stuff, I think I'm probably going to become a pretty big fan. I don't even know how many movies he has out there. I didn't really look any of that up before coming into this, but I'm definitely going to be. I think probably the only thing that I could really complain about with the movie is that there isn't more of it. I think that I would have liked more of the family dynamic and feud being fleshed out, and I would have liked more backstory on the native burial grounds and all that stuff and how this family came to learn of it. So really just stuff that we would get if they decided to do sequels or prequels or anything like that. So not so much a complaint, just a desire to see more of it, because I was intrigued by all elements of it, which is odd. We don't typically go in for these supernatural movies that often, but I don't think that this movie could exist without that twist, but it wouldn't be the same, obviously. Throwing that into the mix is just genius.
And I think this is a good kind of gap movie for. I know neither of y'all really like the supernatural ones as much as I do, but I feel like this is a good gap movie that fills it in the in between, because it also has kind of almost a slasher movie tone as well, with a lot of killings, a lot of over the top gore, some pretty cool stuff in that.
Yeah, it's kind of like they bridge, like you said, it bridges the gap nicely because it's got the supernatural shit, but it's also got the people on people violence and the gore and everything that comes along with that. So you're not just stuck there watching like a generic possession movie or something. It finds itself closer to like a like just crime movie meets Evil Dead than it does like a haunted house movie, I guess.
Oh yeah,
just works. There's few things I ever would have thought to throw together, to be honest. This is kind of like the whole concept of this is the type of thing I wish that I had thought of it. And I'm surprised there isn't more of it now that I've seen this. And it's just cool to know that he's so involved in it, and that people like that, for lack of a better way of saying it, also dig horror movies and stuff. I mean, you don't think of people rocking bolo ties and cowboy boots as being into horror, but then I guess Joe Bob Briggs kind of throws a wrench into that. So
even got Homeboy
cool with there's more. Good.
Even got the Homeboy in the beginning when they're at the bar with the coonskin cap.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a broad spectrum of shit represented here, but I think at its core it's like those more upper class rural people that are sort of the backbone of the movie, and it's just not a crowd I associate with horror films, but I guess we should. Maybe Joe Bob Briggs isn't as much of the anomaly as he appears to be,
Yeah, I mean they're not all metal fans, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose it's the reason you can't like, George Strait and George Romero, It's not the stuff I would have put together in my brain, but it's super rad that they're into it,
Yeah, it takes all kinds. Obviously, they're very good at what they do. I mean, whoever their special effects person is, I mean, I hope they hold on to that person and don't ever let them go.
And their sound levels were really good, but they had an expert sound guy doing it. He had the keyboard and all of the levelers and stuff. He was set up. That guy is doing the sound.
Oh yeah, it sounded really good. There was the only part of the movie that I can think of that sounded a little rough was when they're talking in the entryway of the store about his car that he got. But that's just down to where they were shooting it at. Strange acoustics that can happen.
Making fun of his orange car.
The soundtrack was pretty great too. I mean, I don't know. I tend to watch a lot of these movies with headphones so that I can watch them late at night or something and not have everyone else pissed that I'm watching it at probably movie theater volume, But there was times where the soundtrack was really claustrophobic and kind of had this feeling like it was closing in on you, which was really cool. And then I do like how they included a little bit of country western on the soundtrack. And there was almost some 80s synthy vibes to some of it. I mean, it didn't lean too far one way or the other. Like, it didn't lean far enough into the old school horror soundtrack vibes to totally cancel out the country western vibes, but it didn't lean too far into the country western vibes to the point where it felt like it was kind of goofy. You know what I mean? Like, if they were busting out the steel guitar shit all the time through the whole soundtrack, it would have lost its luster pretty quick, I think. Including it briefly, it was the right, it was the ticket. I love that they used that song for the end credits and I think it's the menu music as well.
Let's see, I got a comment from Mike McNally. If there's a sequel, I hope it's all closing time to last fall.
I want the prequel to be grand opening.
That'd be cool. I'd be about that. I mean, they could do all types of. They could do some type of, gnarly prequel to this, where it turns out that the family knew about the burial grounds and they had some history with it too, and that's why they specifically chose to put the store there or whatever. And like I said, there's the possibility they committed some dastardly deeds to get the funds to open it in the first place. So I think a prequel is probably what I might want for this before a sequel. I wouldn't kick a sequel out of bed either, but I feel like I'd be more hyped if we got a prequel first.
I think Last Call is that's a great title. Yeah. I think if we did get a sequel, it had to be a sequel with flashbacks.
Shoot, it could take place in the bar.
It's true. I think it'd be doing itself. I think it'd be doing itself a disservice if they didn't. If they did the sequel, they didn't at least do some flashbacks to what it was like, when the parents were younger and how their parents were and stuff like that. Like, so I mean, it's a prequel would be great, but if they did a sequel, it should definitely have some flashbacks.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I guess that's all she wrote, unless there's anything else.
I mean, we covered the special effects. We covered, the cast. Obviously, my favorite character is the aunt as well. I don't know if Cody had. I think secondary to her would probably be that old guy that was with the main villain. He was pretty slimy and scary, and I feel like he maybe had some experience playing those types of characters before. I don't know, or just came naturally, which would make it even more badass. But yeah, those would be my two favorite characters. I mean, obviously set design was pretty dope because it was an actual friggin' Western boutique store. Those places are always cool, even if you're not into dressing like that. The shirts, the craftsmanship on some of that stuff is pretty dope. And obviously, who doesn't love a good bolo tie? So yeah, that was pretty top tier. And it just, like you said, it has a bit of that like Twin Peaks vibe, where I feel like the town itself and the store and the people that come in it could be all sorts of characters of their own, even outside of this family. So, yeah, I don't know. I like all of it, man. I thought that it was a fairly brilliant film that I'm glad that I have in my collection, and definitely will be getting revisited frequently in the future. I can't think of a holiday or anything I would line this movie up with, but it's probably just a good one to pull out, at least once a year and give it a watch. What about you, Cody? Is this going to be in the rotation in the future? The one you could see yourself revisiting?
I think I'd rewatch. I want to definitely watch that documentary that's on the disc, and then, like I said earlier, I definitely want to find out what else he's done to see. Just, I mean, if this is what I've seen from him, I definitely want to see more. So I could definitely see myself watching it again, but even more so, I want to see what else he has came up with.
Yeah, I mean, if he's a randy enough dude to put this thing together and come up with this kind of stuff, I imagine his other shit's got to be pretty interesting as well. And just the title on that other one intrigues me, but I'm a fan of like titles of movies or songs that are like longer than they need to be, you know. So if there's like 7 words in the title, I'm just like, oh, I've got to see this or hear this at some point, you know, because will it live up to such a title, you know? Isn't Jim Roberts also the guy? I mean, I know they're not the same dude, but isn't Jim Roberts the name of the guy that voices Winnie the Pooh?
Oh, Jim Cummings.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Damn it, Jim.
In my head, I was like, it's funny this is Winnie the Pooh connection, but it's not the right name.
I need to figure out, because I always associate Blind Sight with the Slow Mutants production company, and I can't remember whether they have a relation or not. But
yeah, I don't know. This was my first experience with that production company too, or whatever. I don't think I'd ever heard of Blind Sight before this, so I'm definitely excited about that.
Like, I want to say it's Happy Hour Holocaust or Happy Hour something, maybe, that they did before that.
Well, that sounds like quite a title as well. Definitely one I'm going to have to put on my list.
I know Kyle keeps asking me if I've seen it.
Oh, Kyle's in that one as well?
I don't know if he's in it, but I know that he likes it. So
there we go. Definitely intrigues me. Yeah, I don't know. Lots of cool stuff, it sounds like, to check out adjacent to this anyways. So at least a couple of movies here and there. You know, it's cool that this is so recent, because obviously it's fun to find out about new filmmakers that are still actively producing content. So I imagine if this dude did this in 2019, he hasn't, you know, hung up the hat or anything. So yeah, definitely like in the same boat as Cody. Looking forward to seeing what else this guy's got out there for us to look at. I think this could be a good gateway to, you know, sort of that demographic of people as well. I imagine if you're the type of feller to rock a bolo tie casual, like in your day-to-day life, and you've maybe never watched a horror film, if you watch something like this, you know, people that you recognize and can relate to in the horror setting, you might become a fan, you know. I mean, I guess it's not a big leap from something like this to Evil Dead, because those types of folks enjoy the great outdoors and whatnot, and Evil Dead is pretty outdoorsy. So yeah, that's all we got on this, I think, guys. I don't know. Thanks again, Brandon, for bringing this one up. I mean, it's
I've been wanting to cover this one for a while.
Yeah, it's you know, apologies for the delay on the episode, but I think that it was good that we talked about this, because it fits right in over here. We like this kind of weird shit. I'm always a big fan of, I guess, like unconventional horror films or whatever, stuff that's set around shit that you wouldn't, you know, expect or whatever. And this is a prime example of something like that, where it's, you know, set in a location you never would associate with horror films, starring people you typically wouldn't associate with horror films. And it's just rad, man. You know, it makes me want to get out there and revisit some other unexpected horror films, I guess, like you know, Jack Brooks' Monster Hunter or things like that. Shame we never got sequels or prequels to that as well. All right, so I think that does it for closing time, guys. It looks like our next film that we're going to be covering is obviously Return to Splatter Farm. Very much looking forward to that one as well. Hopefully, you know, that'll go off without the same type of technical difficulties I had today. Apologies for that as well. the thunderstorm has passed. It's actually pretty nice out right now, and in the future I'll plan ahead better for stuff like that. I don't really want to do too many more of these from my van, which is where I've been broadcasting from this whole time. Hopefully you guys were able to hear me okay. And after we get done with Return to Splatter Farm, I'm going to go ahead and announce our next wave of reviews for you guys. I'm not sure what these guys are going to be submitting to that, and I've got to reference my list to see what's up next for me. I believe it's going to be the Night of the Axe feature film, and then Blood Feast will follow after that from my selection. So we did get an update from Sean of Face Melt Features. He's got the Blu-rays in hand, and they should be coming out to us here really soon. So
All right.
pretty excited about that. So yeah. Thanks for listening. It was always a pleasure. See Michael McNally in the house. Hopefully you guys can find a way to get out there and check this out. Is it available streaming anywhere, Brandon?
I don't know, but you can look up Blind Sight Productions online. They do have a website, so that might be able to lend some, because I have not been able to find it streaming or anywhere other than directly to him, and he only had a few left. I think y'all got like some of the last copies, which is a shame because it's such a good film.
Right. Hopefully, it does.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, that would be nice. And if not, at least get it up somewhere like on a like a Vimeo, or maybe see about putting it on Tubi or something like that. It's definitely one that fans of horror films in general and just fans of low budget cinema need to see. It's quality content, So if you come across this, Jim, just consider putting it up somewhere for people to view if you aren't able to do more runs of it. Because I think you'd get a fair amount of fans with this if you can get it out there where people are seeing it more. Because I mean, this almost feels like something that could be on like Shudder,
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot worse Shudder films.
For sure. But yeah, I don't know, something to look into. As always, we've been the Schlockaholics, and it's been a good time. Yeah, looking forward to the next one. You can check out us and our various friends across our link tree in the description below. And we will see you guys back here real soon. Cheers. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.